If Microsoft really wants to deliver 4 big AAA games every year, they have to buy more studios. Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So ever since Microsoft started buying game studios left and right, Phil Spencer have always been saying that their aim is to deliver 4 big AAA games every year to Xbox, Xbox Game Pass, PC, and we're talking about like big AAA games. On top of that, their aim is to deliver like smaller titles in between these titles too, and that would be combination of like smaller titles from first party, but also third party developers, right? Like good example would be Plague's Tale or some other games, basically AA games, or Hi-Fi Rush, that's smaller project from first party, right? So that's the aim. But the problem is that these days, these games takes a lot of time to make. And, you know, back in the days, usually you would get like new game every 2-3 years if the scope wasn't actually too big and that kind of stuff. But lately, these timelines kind of changed, and in a bad way, in a sense that, well, these games just take longer to make, which means that they cost more money and they have to make more money, etc., etc. So it is what it is. Like, you know, these days, these big games, like these, you know, biggest games, open world games, will take sometimes like 5-6 years to make. Which basically means that if Xbox were to deliver, if Xbox is to deliver, they will have to buy more studios. Right now they've got like 21 or 23 studios, I think. And if they end up buying Activision Blizzard King, well, they will have more. But, you know, even with Activision on board, I think they would still need more, because when it comes to Activision, they've got a lot of game studios, but like 80% of these studios, at least in Activision, I would say even 100%, are just focus on Call of Duty, which is fine, and Call of Duty would be a great addition to Game Pass, for example, once the PlayStation marketing deal would run out. But, you know, the fact of the matter is, like, you know, Activision is huge and they've got many studios, but all they do is just Call of Duty. So you would, yes, you could potentially, Xbox could potentially get a new Call of Duty every day in Game Pass, so that's a great addition. But who knows? Maybe they will change it to, like, you know, every other year. Then maybe some of the studios could deliver some other games. Yes, there's Blizzard, but there's just not. But the thing is, they are working on such a big IPs that, you know, these new games just take a lot of time to make. And that's where I think that even with Activision on board, they will need more studios. And, really even Satya Nadella, so CEO of Microsoft, did say that they are planning more studio acquisitions. And you know what, if you look at the studios available right now, obviously the most obvious studios would be, you know, studios that Microsoft has some history with, like Asobo, for example. They made Plague's Tale, and they made Flight Simulator for Xbox. You know, there's some other studios like IO Interactive, for example, would be a great pick, or Crystal Dynamics. I know they are not necessarily for sale, but Embracer Group is going through some issues right now. So who knows? Maybe they would be willing to sell some of their studios as well. And they've got a lot of very talented studios under their umbrella, and they've got a very weird business plan for these studios. Like they treat these studios like support studios. Like they've got Crystal Dynamics. So Crystal Dynamics is actually working on new Tomb Raider for Amazon. So Amazon apparently is going to be a publisher, even though that Crystal Dynamics is under Embracer Group. And on top of that, they are helping Microsoft and Xbox with Perfect Dark, right? So all I'm saying is that studios like Crystal Dynamics or Eidos Montreal, these kind of studios would be a great get because they have a history of working on big AAA games too. And I'm not saying that they have to be massive like another, for example, I don't know, Assassin's Creed, or I'm not necessarily talking about like 100 hours long kind of games, but like 20-25 hours experiences like Tomb Raider or like and that kind of stuff. So what I'm trying just to say is that Microsoft really needs these developers, but also I wanted to add that they need to focus on bigger studios, not necessarily these tiny ones. I mean, they are, don't get me wrong, they can purchase these too. I mean, they need content like that as well, but I think that they need some, I would say, talented and also experienced teams because building a new studio is very difficult. Look what's going on with Playground Games. They've been building that new Fable team for like 5 years now, and that game is still nowhere near to be seen anywhere. And the reason behind that is that it just takes a lot of time to hire all these people. You cannot just hire 100 or 200 people overnight and start development. You need to pick and choose right people for the right job, right? So it takes time. And then even if you hire all these people, you may have the most talented people in the world on team, but they may not necessarily communicate well with each other. They have to gel with each other, if you know what I mean. Look at what happened with that new I keep forgetting the incentive. No, it will come back to me. The guys that are working on Perfect Dark, the initiative. Sorry. So they hired quite a lot of talented people, but then some people left because they thought that this is not the way, this is not the project they want to work on, right? So it takes time, right? And that's why it's better to buy studios that have history, that went through some turmoil, and look at Obsidian, look at like In Exile, look at Ninja Theory. These kind of teams, they established themselves, and they've got a long history in the gaming industry, or Insomniac, for example, because like even recently PlayStation bought a couple of studios, but they are like it's like buying a cat in a bag. You don't really know what you're getting. That's what we say here in Poland. You are buying a cat in a bag. So you don't know what's inside really. But that's the thing with some of these studios, right? Like PlayStation started some collaboration with some studios, and they just fired 90 people because the project that they started working on just didn't meet the standard. Now recently there's been some rumors about KOTOR being cancelled because apparently Aspyr wasn't really up to the task to actually make a remake for KOTOR, which is sad for me because I really love that game, the original, but these days it's really, really difficult to play that game because of the technical reasons, right? So a remake would be great, but so right now, even with Activision thing going on right now, I think that Microsoft should start picking up these mid-size kind of teams, independent, most likely. Although, like some of these teams, like which are under THQ or Embracer, are not necessarily independent, but who knows? Maybe some of these publishers would be willing to sell some of these studios. And at the end of the day, like Microsoft, the main reason why Microsoft is really after Activision Blizzard is really King and getting into the mobile market and stuff, right? So yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if Microsoft really wants to fill Xbox Game Pass with great games on a regular basis, they really need a lot of game studios, because if it takes 5-6 years to make these AAA big titles, they will need a lot of studios, and I get it that they may actually still work with some third-party developers here and there, but if they really want a consistent content, and even, you know, sometimes sequels and stuff, right? They need the same teams working on the same projects all the time. Like, not necessarily all the time, but like look at Obsidian, for example. They keep, you know, they keep working on like new IPs all the time, but at the same time they create sequels for their successful IPs as well, like the Outer Worlds, for example. The Outer Worlds, the Outer Worlds 2 is in development now, right? So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, guys, so that's my thing on that. Let me know what you think about it. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.